Spiritual bypassing was coined by the psychologist John Walwood. He noticed a pattern in many of his clients where they misused or overused spirituality as a way to actually avoid their difficulties and avoid their difficult experiences. Now, this in no way is a criticism of spirituality, but what we do with spirituality is very much personal, and if we're not aware or we're not watching, we can actually utilize spirituality as another defense mechanism that we use to avoid difficulties in life. And in that way, we're actually misusing the spiritual teachings. Some of the common signs that you may be spiritual bypassing is you use your spiritual beliefs to feel superior to others. Now, I don't know all religions, but I've always been quite a fan of religious teachings. And I've never met one that truly believes that you're somehow better. That sounds very human to me. It doesn't sound spiritual. So if you feel like you're so evolved, you might be spiritual bypassing. Because what you're doing is you're not showing up for the people where they are, because that was old you and I don't need that anymore. Most of the really profound spiritual teachers that have made impacts had a life of service, not a life of cutting off or feeling better than, that I'm aware of at least. Other ways is that we can often take away from our responsibility of life by putting it on to whatever we follow, that this is part of their plan. Now, this can be helpful, so I don't want to downplay that. But if you're noticing your life is just kind of fracturing and falling apart, and people around you don't really want to be around you, you might not be taking the responsibility that you actually need to take, and avoiding taking it by believing that something else is controlling your life in an all entirety. Lately, I've been taking this wonderful course with a shaman, and it's on destiny. And he talks about how we do have fate in life, but what we do with it is our destiny, and we actually create that. So there is certain experiences that we may experience in this life, but we need to take it a step further to understand I can transform or transmute this challenge with support of whatever you spiritually follow. This isn't a criticism of spirituality. It's a criticism of what humans do by bringing in their humanness into these kind of more divine or spiritual teachings. Other ways is we can avoid people who are struggling. Oftentimes people will tell me, I'm into good vibes only. And that's okay, but part of life is giving back and helping other people. And so if we're only into good vibes, we're going to have a very limited social circle, and we're not going to be a very good friend or fill in the blank, spouse, sibling, whatever the case is. So these are some ideas to think about where you may be spiritually bypassing. And then when you recognize that, you don't beat yourself up, you don't think I need to go to a different church or something like that, because that's not what you need to do. You need to change within your own mind. And you need to take responsibility for the ways that you may have been avoiding life and using this as, again, a defense mechanism. All defense mechanisms are not inherently bad, but when they're used excessively, they start to create challenges in our life, and we don't want to use our spirituality as a bypass or defense mechanism to avoid life.